the 12th. So I know that we have an interesting agenda this morning, and I will leave it to Autumn to kick us off.
Okay, first we'll do the roll call. So we've got Alan Paul,
Here.
Rick Shanae, Peter Freilinger,
Here.
Robin Saunders, Portia Hirschman. Don't think she's gonna make it today. Jean Marie and Judy are not here. Rachel Hendrickson.
Here.
Corey Fellows. John's not gonna make it as well. And then we have Autumn, Helen, and Karen. All right. And then your next item is your review the minutes from July 11th.
So at this point in front of us, we have the approval of the minutes of July 11th. Is there any comments? Or do I hear a motion to approve? I'll start there.
So moved.
We have a first, we have a second. Rick, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? I show that to be unanimous. Ooh,
We have 4.
we have 4. But we have 4.
Mhm.
All right, third item on the agenda this morning is.
General public comment. Oh, you can't read that? I'm looking like, why you can't see those little letters. Sorry. General public comment. I don't have any one online or any public, so.
All right. So item number 5.
5.
Yes,
Sorry.
is to continue the discussion concerning existing zoning districts. Using.
And uses related to comp plan
Gotcha.
goals and interactive planning exercise. And now we're done with this. Sorry, I didn't even print anything. It's like
Sorry.
we're gonna be walking around. So I don't see that Portia showed up, but we can offer that to Helen created a Miro board to do what we're gonna do online. So we'll offer that to our other members. But in our meeting in July, we started talking about our existing zoning districts and kind of the idea of consolidating them and figuring out, truing them up, so to speak. So we went back to our office, and now this is where we get up. And we started talking about.
Should we go?
Yeah. You can get. We started talking about, we have 25 zoning districts now. A lot of them are really similar with a few small things. And I don't know if you recall, but we started talking about not necessarily a rebrand, but maybe thinking about things a little differently. So what I wanted us to do, instead of starting by tweaking from the bottom, like what we have, I wanted us to start kind of fresh. So if we were going to design our own town and our own zoning districts, this is a very high level, there's no right or wrong, I answered. These are 8 zoning districts that I just put up here that sort of capture what we've been talking about. And so I'll give you a little rundown of what I was thinking about them. Also, this is, you guys are the guinea pigs for an exercise that we could take out to the greater public. There's a lot of growth and housing conversations happening, a lot of different moving pieces from state legislation to, we'll lose our rate of growth ordinance in some respects, zoning tweaks. So trying to look for something we can take to the public to really true up, compare what we think we should have, compare that to what we have, and then make the fixes, make the tweaks. So I added this district, this would be called Rural Farm Conservation. This is a district that comes up often in this discussion with you all. Right now we have the Rural Farming District, but it's mostly in a state home district. So this would be truly the rural farmers. Then we have rural residential. This is really where people live on the state lots, the nice big 2-acre, 5-acre. That's the idea behind this one. And suburban residential, this is really everybody else. Your nice half an acre and an acre lot. Our neighborhood is suburban residential, where most people live. And then, so this is sort of looking at other things, but neighborhood centers where we start, we talk about this, what I think this a lot. Neighborhood center is neighborhood residential, we'll talk about neighborhood. This would be more like a Maple Ave kind of neighborhood. Where you're a little more dense and you might be easier to get into the town, might be a little closer, like Ward Street.
Well,
Neighbors.
how would you differentiate suburban residential and Maple Street?
Well, and so that's what this exercise is about. So I want to know what you all, how you think about it. So I'll do the top and then we'll go through the other. So neighborhood residential is really, in my mind, thinking about a little bit more density, you're closer to. Activities and things you can do more than neighborhood rather than just out you live out. And then, so through this exercise, this might become one. Or it might become three. So that's the idea. The neighborhood center is really, starting to put a little bit more activity. My favorite example where I feel like a neighborhood center would be appropriate is at like Park Road and Scarborough. Because you have the fire station, you have little dairy, it's just a little area that people that lived at Higgins could go, if they could get a gallon of milk, how cool would that be to not have to go all the way into town? So thinking about this sort of thing.
Would you consider Pleasantville the same?
Yeah, it could be possibly where,
The intersection of Highland.
yeah, something like that. So this is where it's a little easier for me. This is like Lois's Market. And then community centers like Hannaford and regional is Costco. So that's how my brain sort of goes through the areas. But community center or town center, this is really a little bit more, more dense, maybe more shopping, more retail, a little busier. And then of course, regional center, pretty self-explanatory. People are coming from the state all over to do these things. And then business industrials.
Quick question, if we were like a traditional Maine town village, we have like a village center, you know, with a green kind of a, where would you put that?
I would put that in this area. Yeah. And so those are just, those are big boxes, because if we had too many boxes, we would never be able to.
Yes.
So you start with a few and then maybe it grows. Maybe that's how we got to 25 zoning districts, right?
So if you, I'm sorry. From a community center standpoint, is that where the downs make it?
I don't think so, but now let me tell you what this is.
Okay,
So the purpose statements. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take one of these from purpose. And I have defined purpose as you live there, you can play outside there. You can learn, work, shop, play inside, or if there's something we're missing. So to me, in that first one, rural conservation, I would put live and play outside. So maybe there's some trails, maybe there's some nature preserve, that sort of. I would not shop there, I would probably not work there, and this is grand scheme. But for regional center for purpose, I would probably put play inside, which is more like recreational bowling alley and movie theater, that sort of thing. I'd probably put learning, shopping, and working for sure. Not sure if I live at a regional center. So those are the kind of conversations. So again, no right or wrong answer. And then the next question is who it serves. And so for serves, the individual. So again, in that rural conservation zone, I might put it's the individual. But I also might put it's the town. I think that would be a great place for Ward Woods kind of situation. But again, this is up to you guys. So you can serve the individual, the region, the town, neighborhood, or other, or a combination. So you can pick as many as you want. And if we run out, we'll write more. So the next category is character. And this one's a little tricky. What I have for choices now is rural, suburban, urban, village, niche. Do you think it should be special? Like in your mind, do you think suburban neighborhoods should be special? Put niche as a character, or industrial. So, and other, it's always an other, you can always feel free to write room. And so then the next one is scale. This is one we've been struggling with. Marcia, you really brought this one up. That people were concerned with this. So I have small is 1 to 2 stories. Medium, and it should say 1 to 3 stories, but you would be comfortable 1 up to 3. large would be comfortable going up to 4 stories, and extra large 4+. So for me personally, I probably wouldn't put extra large anywhere except maybe in this area. That's kind of what I would probably do. And then your next one is connections. And this one's really interesting to think about because connections is how people are getting there and how they function when they are there. So of course, roads, probably gonna go in all of them. But trails, you might have trails in the first 3, and you might have trails throughout, but you might really focus more on sidewalks and bike lanes and these versus your trail. So I have a project.
Hello, guys.
No Hellgans. Helen and I almost put one sticky note. Yeah, and then bike lanes, transit. So yeah, so the idea is you would come. I'd like you probably to work in maybe groups of 2 and not be all over the place, or maybe just there's only a few of you, so you could probably. I don't know how you work, but I go through and go, who am I serving, and I do them all, so I get sort of this high level, how they rank in my head. And if you struggle with any of them, you know, just take a blank one and put a note, like, I don't know what to do with this. But then, after, we won't get to it today, the next thing is, the last one is uses. So after we get through this exercise and we get some more input from the folks that are here, we'll come back next time and do uses. And uses will be based on this purpose. And we'll true up if we really mean what we say. Like if everybody said, oh, we should live there, then we'll have a box that says live, and that includes single family, detached, single family, attached, multifamily, live work units, and then we'll tweak it a little bit as we go. Does that make sense? Awesome.
I think the hardest thing is going to be disassociating the difference between a blank piece of paper and what we know exists.
Exactly, it really is, and that will be.
That's a good example of that.
Yeah.
That's your different.
Yes, exactly.
I think the point of this is to get people out of their head a little bit, not just you all, but everybody in general. Everybody has an idea of what they think village means. I know I do. I struggle with the word village a lot. Everybody thinks they know what suburban, urban, and so I think if we can figure out how to make this, we can get people out of their head, and then we figure out how to get on the same page. It'll make these growth conversations a lot easier. But if we are all thinking different things mean different things, you know, scale to you might mean, yeah, 2 stories, but I'm over here like 10 stories is fine. Gotta get on it even start.
These are people referring to high rises. That are 4 stories.
Like a high rise is not a 4-story building. Yes, but we can have defined scales, so everybody's on the same page. That's kind of the idea behind.
You're in Maine, a high rise is anything 3 stories and above.
Yeah. So, yeah, get to it. This is it.
You're consider Oak Hill. I'm just still trying to figure out.
Oak Hill, to me is a town center.
Town center.
Town center. Yeah, again, the easiest way for me is this is Lewis's Market, maybe on the Vine, maybe on the Vine, grocery store, Hannaford, and Costco. It's kind of how I think of it. You know, and this is maybe a doctor's office, and this is Maine Health.
What is the door?
Oh, no, so there's.
Yeah.
What are they? Oh, Health.
Yes, exactly.
My concerns.
Typically conservation, so
It's a niche exercise.
It is a very
Yeah,
good
we're
exercise.
actually, it's not where
Yeah.
the fees are.
Of course, there's something.
So like.
Great, yeah.
So especially.
I was just, I was like,
The front, you know, but that basic floor of.
Cambridge.
Yes.
So there should be enough to grab them off.
But should.
Yeah, we have
that's what I
pre-written.
want To see. how it
stacks.
develops. Larger, taller.
It's surprising.
You can tell me where you wanna put things.
I keep, so. In terms of the village center, yes, I live in. And I get It's how they handle small film as well. Especially as pertains to that they were built
Yeah.
around their town sites. Yeah, no, but that's actually differently. They're. They have it's surrounding.
Yeah.
And each over has.
I'm gonna come over there.
Each center had.
We put it on statements, right?
Yes.
And something.
I don't say why do I support
Like
this? I got the twin was this right? So you count the-
Stumbling fines, okay. But they were dropping. They had.
But I've just used
Each
two
center
workers,
had.
did you work in the town center in the?
That's fine. Yeah, just center had, at least one
Yeah, you don't have to.
Chinese restaurant or what you do. In the little place.
Okay.
So where I lived, the unique,
Yeah.
the unique part, was this unique piece, actually, was the little thing. That was one for them. So there was one for Weston, and was a ginger face. Town center. Another town center had the town swimming pool, was a limited size. That's what you can really design something for the bottom.
I was really into, just watch, I'm.
Yeah.
I'm the-
Like the
Well,
original.
you can cut
The one we are, yeah, yeah. Excellent, right next door, yeah. No, I was arrested. Well, I didn't go to arrested by it's his problem. When I originally lived in Virginia. He's in the sixties, and I just stopped. Yeah, that was before it was just like, I didn't wanna. And then
You,
when I moved
no,
there.
no, you just use the one.
There's like some bus on it directly, yeah. Yes, there wasn't converted, that's how I used to.
It's video services.
There's. Fine, but it was the.
I wonder what the owl is picking up. There was one of me for a while, so I got. Me watching everyone. I'm talking about like the 0.5 zoom. Oh, but for I was like.
Yeah, but then the.
Eyes.
And each town center had housing for the elderly, with some connection to. Yeah.
So mixtures.
So that, basically the way that you are, I guess I look at it, this is kind of, what would a neighbor,
I'm going back. for
Yes.
these conferences, so what do you do that? Okay.
you have to be called to me.
They got all kinds of people voting.
Yeah, it's a mixture.
Let's sit down.
There's no parking lot.
Good take that. Even more so than the rest, but you need the rest. Hello. Hi, Tom. Good morning.
Hi, Judy. Hey.
Hey. I'm gonna do an exercise today.
I'll let you guys know.
I'm never sure which entrance to go to.
On the front, it's a normal,
Oh,
but it's
you just told me I should come to the back. I texted you that I was about to leave.
She's already started.
I start the meeting at 8, so,
I know.
yeah, we stay out there till about. Wait, I'm sorry, yeah, this one's an 8 o'clock.
Somebody seen.
I don't have a text either. Who did you text, Judy? I don't have a text. Cause I do
No, I
text it.
emailed you.
Oh, yeah, I don't check my email once I'm started.
Okay. I'll have to find out what number I should use for text.
You just don't see your face.
It's her children.
Work.
We have a lot of night meetings, but this is the only 8 o'clock meeting.
The only time I ever got up that early was kids with the.
Yeah. Also, it's not a state. So you check all of this.
Yeah.
And then that got brought.
Yeah,
Have you thought about what you want?
And I'm like, I thought it was understood. Because it's-
So that's gonna. I mean, I think the access fee in front of it. Yeah, I hear you. I've always.
When town.
So have a rural farm celebration area. And so others. And so we have to. See, called, we have to see about here. If they have. Who is, who do they think it's? Well, the determination to take. Those things and move out of miles ratio to move those two different. That's good. So they make this drive and they get other than.
Are you asking the main girl? Is that what?
You know, you would like to. If you get blood pressure, that's the same thing, so.
But
How about
9 out of 10.
There's a staff one. So they're all written on already? Yeah. Just pull one off and stick.
If they can put that.
Okay.
So you could start, for example, with.
That.
And that's like.
Yeah, there was
Side.
something that they do,
learn,
so I guess like kids.
For example, coughing.
My
So you can
friends.
start there and.
So we got.
Or.
Do they think it, do they think it could be? Or tell her.
Of course.
There's no change in brain
Oh, nice.
from what it was. It's early tonight,
Yeah.
so-
They're not great, but.
There's a good word about it. That's so scary.
Yeah.
Well, it's been 5 hours. Waiting to be seen more. Yeah, you never did get one.
Were there students that they were? Okay, yeah, make sure.
That made you not sitting bad.
But yeah, if you have any questions.
Okay, how-
I was so proud.
Yeah. So yes, I'm sick.
Oh, you're swollen.
Yeah. Like how Sam,
But.
yes, it's nice to have a
We have
powerful.
fun in my house.
You're saying here.
Yeah, no, I even forgot to talk about it.
No.
Okay, stuff.
Nice.
What have any questions?
Will be here, and if you need any extra post-its for any reason, there's like ones over here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only,
Yeah, Benson and.
they're really only. They're yeah.
So when I do this,
Yeah.
yeah, we just call this little. We just call.
Well, it's because there's that one map that says. Scarborough,
Yeah.
but he calls them.
Right, now you know, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than historic.
Yeah.
I know, it's sad, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Just like
that's sort of like.
Yeah, exactly. That's what-
talking about.
That's
Yeah.
like we have a reserve.
Yeah.
Taller, not sprawler.
It just moves, whatever it is.
And then we have. One of the things that you can then do, take a look and see what you're missing.
Well, see, I don't think about it as use. I think about. I think like passion. There, it fit into it. I mean, still would.
Yeah, it wasn't gonna say.
For me,
but-
for me, it would be like, you know, it's really pretty and it matches, well, adds to.
This sort of exercise and vision making.
Let me ask you this then, sure.
Then get you.
Neighborhoods? Yep.
Give me the RPS. Where you can stop.
Yeah, I think
Maybe.
I do that, the community.
I did walk over.
I like trying to have the travel, I did it.
I was thinking of.
We need to talk.
Look at it.
Something. Yeah, or there are places where. Not too many.
Yeah, like we're missing a lot of connection.
Yes.
So, you know, you can go do what it says.
Yeah, there's a lot of different states.
What is it? Basic, so, yeah.
Rest and.
So I say like where you can buy your gallon. I remember
It has a circular.
We got a bunch of it.
The roads. Well, we have the. Yeah.
So there's always a connection.
I think it's one to equal, but these are. It sounds like this is an example of how it's hard to separate and it's not better. You have a lot of.
Yeah. If we run out of time,
So I'll make it over here in Scarborough.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of good.
Oh, okay.
So that's next.
So there's something more.
Take all of these ones.
Yeah.
They're more than policies.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, this makes all of my house one, there are some.
Okay.
Just to.
See, gotcha.
Yeah.
Amazing. I just realized that. Take those days to make more.
That's good. That's something. 31.
So they're already,
Oh my God, yeah.
yeah. So I'm putting this on each end of this.
Yep.
Doesn't feel nice.
It's easier, right? I think all the things that were-
It's like, everything's set up permanently. Yeah, that's what I do. I don't know, it really feel like I want stuff. And things all this is how it's come back.
Yeah, it would go there.
Right. See, there are buildings. So it's really a worry about everything. I put go out it's in the boots. And also village around there. But it's good. Not like you make those. Walk that.
Yeah.
Sort of stuff.
Our R2 zones don't have. Side
Unless they're cheaper, you got two more. It's.
Because I get what you're saying, and that seems really.
Yeah, I'm gonna fit.
Okay.
The first one is, there's not a lot of big development. That's part of the problem. We're not really somebody.
Yeah.
There's this little store, it's not much.
Okay, so it's not like change close to your house.
Right.
Because I wouldn't get that, you know. Yeah.
That's the only thing that I remember is about that idea. Spotlights.
Do that. That's where.
Change the hue of the lights. So you can put them all on natural light or.
Well, and that part of that is.
Right light.
You know, you take someone away from.
Anyway.
We've lost all around, which we can't. Our lost was fine.
You know, $2.
She was immediately. Set access. Like noon to
Out of the interview. So.
You couldn't use if you wanted to, locate or a basic store or a corner store in order to, no. That would require, I mean, that requires town council. Zoning board doesn't have very, so.
They just see any kind of thinking that requires in.
That makes a lot of sense.
Section of really. It's.
But you.
Well, it's all funds will be a lot.
No.
It wants. Whatever you need for turn over as the judge does.
Is when they went by the 3 minute blood minutes, yeah. One would have it, so they went fast.
And they would do legalized. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Still good. Actually.
Yeah. Oh my.
Some of the part of that is. Articulation.
Side of the brace.
Yeah.
Getting the fabric that I had.
And when you notice what the modern response would be to create that, Do something.
I realized that
Oh my God, yeah, that's terrible. This is the thing, like, the past,
They're not-
I recently-
Not getting enough, so I'm not, that's okay, I'm not gonna go on. Why is it stop?
Very well. Life is very fun.
You know what, that.
Well, that's where everything's for.
We don't have anyone on.
No, okay, yeah, I was just closing that window. Just realized. Oh, what was it? Oh, it was just the participants window was up, not that anybody's missing anything, but. Yeah.
It makes such a difference. Oh, definitely, it really does, and it's the. Yeah, it's. I don't.
The voices are clearly uniform right now. Pat him on the head nicely, then you.
I have.
You don't have
I
a-
just have plastic.
I did, I think.
That I use and.
The tiff on, I guess, for the cheap cars.
Is what I started.
And it was a lot of swollen.
And I started.
Loud.
These 5 colors, these.
And the people who are most of the benefit from those things
Here.
are education.
And then I have. That was
Working.
And then I get the point where I got enough.
Or they'd love to live in Scarborough and can't because they're kept out by the close of movie. And there needs to be some.
That's actually, it's gonna be. It's gonna be more forward. It's just not gonna be so.
Well, we'll see what happens in school too.
Well, that's, I think that's part of what I believe in today's.
You're right.
Christmas.
Furnace,
So, if you.
then we had.
Try to get, doing progress, yeah.
So, that's people before us.
Yeah, so it's probably
That's.
in some ways. Let's see.
So, I see.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Get rid of everything. All the plastics.
Yes,
Spaces that they. Thank you.
Yeah.
Three quarters.
And I mean, the dialogue.
It's not.
Will and true. There's been longer dialogue. We're decided to grab it. Included.
The good workspace.
Because they're invited to some jobs.
It's so perfect, you wouldn't call it. Family.
We're now doing E6, right?
Okay, it is a workout. There are.
Yeah.
But. Everything. I mean, that's fine, it's like the numbers looking to it.
Yeah.
And then deciding what comes back down. See, unfortunately, I didn't go through it, I took everything out.
Is scale by L large or low?
Large. It's 3 to 4 story
Yeah, everything else.
or 1 to 4. Up to 4. Yeah, I wanted to change that, but I'm like, I might have changed that. It makes sense. I'm gonna change it right there. I did.
So all of a sudden. Now we have. Space. Put totes, millions and legal noises. You can see. Yeah. Something seasonal story, but it's not seasonal. It's such a social. You're gonna do it. And put it on. Yes, to the bottom of the regular place. So, yeah. Thank for that. Yeah, it's so pretty.
Yeah, no, and I guess you get with what we John, I said about this, education in general. What we do, it's there, very, they're from, this is a good way to put it. But you almost, I found it's half to that.
But it's not.
You almost have that, to have people.
So I.
John, like, we're talking about. I said, it's about him.
Yeah.
Because. Yeah, Mike sticks.
Because I mean,
Yeah, so we have.
but different type of hearing or different fines. If it's a
Time.
But that's the, it's again, a lot of things for time. Now, it's not weird to marry, they have that. They tend to cluster in ways we can find them relatively. These families, it's.
Yeah.
Folks.
Figure out.
House. And then also all food, there's a voice. Maybe.
Some.
I don't know that.
Able to.
Last year. Same problem, just right?
Right in the city.
Yeah.
My mom actually. grew up on 133rd Street, right across from the parking. lot. So, yeah. And then, yeah, it was
Just
very, very.
make it out.
Anemic. I was a little bit at the time.
Yeah. My best friend, Jean. It was it's been like 9 years. Section by my house. Yeah. So I moved to right here. It was just like different for each section. Yes, each year.
And you know, they're all just down here. And that's, those are the. I didn't say. Depending on the. It also is free to be. The responsible.
Yeah. It was.
There's also, they love the place. Now, zero respect. Because they have. All they said is.
Well, you almost made.
Going for
Yes.
By the way, you're sitting on. I'm on the zoning, I'm gonna make sure these never change. I have solid insurance, but there is never go anywhere because you told me. You told me. So again, it's therefore council. A positive motivation. To live in a hospital.
3 hours.
Yeah.
To this.
Terrible.
No, I don't think that when something happens.
Yes.
Land trust property, every part of it.
She comes with her own.
So, but we did.
Neighborhood center.
Yeah, we call it about.
And,
Yeah, don't go down there.
Where you can't put two and a half acres.
understand how they
Now,
connect to each other.
You got a zone of the towns where you declare it's zone 25 acre development time.
I know, but-
25 acres of work, you know, so that we maintain truly the farm and conservation. And yes,
Loves that.
I like that kind of differentiate, yeah, farm rural is because a lot of times when. It's more of a talk about rural means 2 acre house.
correct. I mean, what.
See anybody else's house.
But they couldn't fill that.
They're not actually, it's not, they're
Yeah.
Yeah,
actively, they're not.
that's a good, maybe for an one.
It's not wilderness, it's just, yeah.
So but people talk about this.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, take pictures, I don't show you the fact that, you know.
Yes,
this
you
person-
Yeah, it's definitely channeling.
They're only limited to.
Yes, I'm gonna try to reach out and give her the mirror board and, yeah.
What's the Hill Road,
Two.
well, Mitchell Hill, you have some, and then there's that farm over.
Yeah, did you get what? I have the chart.
Well,
I have the, I to do that.
it goes.
Yeah.
And it ends out at the event.
Big group, so of course, I think we're pushing.
No, it's not home, it's the. So Petrie still has a bunch of old, they're not really farmed it anymore, but they're still. Plotted as farms. Some people would say other areas that are no longer farmed, but were, they're now overgrown. That's an know, it's conservation. And you have trails to run that for. Whether it's bikes for people or cross every skiing. But then you would encounter consider like over for 2.5. Real estate state. You would be going through almost a little.
So instead of having fat. It's a thin space.
Those kind of, nuances can be factual.
Yeah.
Cause you can put a story, if we have a number, like a 45-foot number, remember?
Yeah.
45 is not really the Madness number, because you have to, yeah, you can do 4 stories and 45, really flat.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, you want 4 stories, say 4 stories up to 60. So you get some flexibility. But if you don't really want 4 stories, say 3 stories up. Be clear about what you want.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you design yourself in a circle where you can do everything.
But for the rural stuff, I had a few there that applied, no people. So it's more of a almost a wilderness feel. Rural implies you're gonna find a farm or a house every now and then. I think there's a place.
You created a conservation goal.
Yes, that, so.
Defined differently than the existing.
That's the whole purpose of it. I don't suspect that these 8 will do it, right? But I'm sure it's the nuances in between the thoughts that we maybe.
You know, I think we're concerned because we end up with a lot of really small zones.
That's all we're gonna do,
We're not gonna do that.
Alan. We're not doing that, Alan.
My concern, my. Get down to be really well defined districts. And it will look like a crazy puzzle, because we've had so much mixed. Concepts in the development of state place state. That will have areas.
I remember subject.
Yeah. But it also don't make sense, they never said one of those a gerrymandered kind of
That
thing.
process.
So that's.
We try to apply it. Yeah.
That was kind of like our agenda.
Right.
Range for years.
Well, that basically was the implementation of 2006 plan, which was primarily all the. You know, going through each zone.
It sort of feels like, a big bridge, like Golden Bridge in Boston, where they work their way across it and paint it, and by the time they finish, they have to start.
Because
Totally, that's the way it feels, because you hear people talk, oh, comp plans already outdated, we need to revisit everything. It's a moving target.
Yeah, but I think people forget that the comp plan has some really overarching goals. And where we can be is down here. Implementing the details, of this is what we're trying to figure out, what does rural mean to everybody? Because we talk about it in the comp plan, but now it's time to get down to, okay, we can tweak down here, and I think that's I don't feel like that's compromising or changing the comp plan, I feel like that's implementing it.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, the feature we have, okay, the comp plan, as a feature. We're trying to go toward these.
Wednesday, I had to spend 5 hours in the.
Yeah, we're coming from something. But in fact, no, this is higher.
Right.
But that's just constantly very changing. What we do decide to build changes options we have going forward.
Headaches, and also coffee and colitis,
Your
and
life
Wednesday spike.
ebbs and flows, I won't say change.
So it's primary care.
Changes, right?
Emergency room.
It ebbs and
Yeah.
flows, and there's just
Yeah.
different.
I'm not sure, I mean,
If you're,
I think some of this rule, you get that?
Yes.
I know.
I'm not sure that helps me with the complex. Other than this is a road of taking us to.
Or something where you
No, I,
sometimes sort of.
I have a.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like.
that's pretty much my so that's perfect analogy. All right, so is everybody done? You think?
I was having a problem.
Okay, no, definitely.
Still.
Okay, I think Karen got some, yeah, I can see some of her.
We'll fix that.
I don't know what that is, so maybe I'll have him try to, or have her try to send it out through. Yeah.
Thank you. It doesn't make any sense for her to do anything.
Well, I'm wondering if we change to my, sending out through my email,
Yeah,
because I don't think we had problems when we did that.
and I can't remember, but that's why I discovered it late.
Oh, no worries. Well, originally that was just supposed to be the nomination. We weren't really supposed to be voting yet, but people decided, but I'm sending it all out again, just to make sure. So,
All right.
Yeah,
and I'll send it through my email.
all right, I think we're done with this part, so now I'm just gonna go through each one and go through kind of any questions we might have, and then maybe some more conversation. I'm gonna start at this end, because this one seems really easy. So business and industrial center work, a lot of work. I like a little bit of learn, I think that's really cool, because you can learn in those kind of centers. And shopping. For the folks that put shopping up, is it more specialized shopping, or what were you envisioning? Who did it? So, okay. And you don't want to say it's fine, and then search the region and one town, industrial and urban character, extra large. And all the connections, a lot of sidewalks, one trails.
One of the things on the service, I think mine fell out of that, I had town as well, because I think the service that provides the tax base.
Yeah, yeah.
Is really important for us, so, that's what I had in mind for
Perfect.
town.
Autumn,
Uh-huh.
I didn't put up shopping, but I know that many industrial areas will have things like fabrication of granite slabs.
So specialized, that's what I wanted to make sure you guys aren't thinking no one's going there to buy clothes or milk or anything. It's a specialized, kind of an ancillary. Okay, perfect. So that one makes total sense. I will say Helen and I were talking about someone put trails. And I liked that because in a real industrial park setting,
That's me.
trails are really honestly fantastic. Because you usually have a lot of land set aside for stormwater and you have some room to really make some meandering trails, and it's a nice requirement for those.
And
So if we were starting over and we had a brand new industrial park, we could really design it quite lovely to tie into use and switches. Cause you don't necessarily want people walking next to the big trucks going into.
Well, the other thing too is, in, I think in our industrial zone here, employers know they need outdoor spaces for people for lunch breaks.
Wellness.
That. So, yeah, and they put them out there now, they're kind of second thoughts, I'm sure.
Right.
But if you didn't agree with the plan that all.
Right. If we were getting to do it all over, we could really.
And some industrial parks will also have, delis. So workers can pick up lunch.
I'm a big proponent of allowing food trucks in our district. So then the next one is the regional center. So we've got work, learn, shop. So a little bit of everything. Serves the region, character, urban, one suburban and one niche, and then extra large and large. So fairly consistent. There's no living in this regional center. No one put living, so
I put living. Because I think,
it's not up here.
I just think we should look at mixed use for many of these categories.
Some of the states. So, yeah, I think I know you did.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Did you hide them?
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because a regional center, so using an existing location for a regional center in the Downs, this would be the innovation district, but the housing part probably would fit into here is what you are all telling me, right?
Well, I was the regional center as like Walmart. And, well, there is some,
Walmart stores,
well, that's section.
like that shop, like the Gallery Boulevard, Lowe's.
Yeah, exactly, Lowe's, Martin's, all that sort of stuff. And while on the periphery, there's some live spaces. They're odd, they don't make sense in the context of the giant store that you have to drive to the park to. And if you're using, maybe it's for employees and that, which is great.
Yeah.
But if you're not, other than an employee, it's kind of a desolate place to be. And having lived in places like that the past my career, the regional centers, if I think of the regional center as being that gallery as sort of concept. That's what people develop.
I think it'll be a cheap place, maybe it's a cheaper place to live though,
No,
in the regional center. Like think Carrier Woods behind Walmart, things like that. I'm not that it's cheap, but people gotta live somewhere, you guys, so.
yeah,
I would support living in the regional center, but I understand the
I'm thinking,
complexity.
maybe because we don't think where you lived was good, we could, if there was a way to do it better, right? 'Cause this is still our imaginary world.
Yeah.
I may have misunderstood regional center. I wasn't thinking in terms of big box stores and things. I was thinking in terms of a regional center that would serve something municipal needs in the region.
Oh, okay.
yeah, and see, I was thinking that as the neighborhood community town center, those sorts of things, whereas. Yeah, the regional was the big boxes.
Right, okay.
Or no, I think.
Yeah,
it's part of
when we started,
translation.
I talked about neighborhood center, like in a grocery store, like this being Lois's or On the Vine, this being Hannaford, and this being Costco.
Got it.
That's kind of what.
Yeah.
Okay, and then for community or town center, we've got work, we've got all the things, so you can live there, work there, learn there, that's great, serves everyone. Character, lots of special things in this area. That really should be special, right? And then the scale, large and extra large, okay. I'm a little surprised about it. Like over 4 stories.
I think we have to be very careful that for that category, we don't change the scale of an area. And I understand regional center, you'd have big box stores and things, but for the community, I can't read.
The town center,
Yeah, I wouldn't, I would not support,
Well, we're not changing anything right
no, I understand that, but I think that we just, as we go along, we have to be careful that we don't plunk very, taller buildings in an area that's primarily,
Dad, I respectfully disagree.
you disagree?
I do, and
Okay.
my purpose or my rationale is. Cause I was an extra lives there.
Mhm.
I look at Oak Hill. Oak Hill to me is that area. And my problem is. Everybody keeps moaning and complaining about traffic. This town needs to develop areas suitable to public transit. And in
Yes.
order to be able to do that, we need to take areas like Oak Hill, allow taller buildings, maybe, even if we need to. Not that at this point you'd be able to do it, but, as you look at setbacks and everything else, we need to increase the population there so that we can justify public transportation. And that's why I see areas like that being necessary for higher buildings. I think it's a shame that, maybe it was a year ago now. But there was a building right behind the car wash in McDonald's.
Yeah.
Where they wanted to go up an extra height, an extra story,
Do you know how many stories?
and it didn't happen. I think it went from basically 4 to 5. And we did not allow it to happen, and it would have been residential.
It was a missed opportunity.
It really wasn't
Yep,
stuff.
I'm with Al.
And for me, I put it directly on the same page, it's it's not just the transit. These are limited spaces that we have,
Mhm.
and we can't, like, to me, the classic waste is the Oak Hill Plaza. A one-story, a plaza that has, a wine and liquor store, which I love. A hardware store,
Yes,
a barber shop.
a drugstore.
Well, the drugstore is not even that far. The drugstore at least is sort of, has some bulk to it, but that long lot
Yes,
has, I have never had a problem finding a parking spot within 2 parking spots of a store.
Mhm.
And there's a huge amount of wasted space that's hardscape. You should grow that up. And we should we should expand that space to include uses that would be 24/7, i.e. residential spaces as well. That means in that space though, going up. So I'm right there with the town community center. I would love to see Oak Hill elevated by 2 to 3 stories universally.
I understand what you're saying. I still think, and I certainly think 3, as many as 4 stories would be very good. I think when you get taller than that, you urbanize that area. And I'm not sure that's what we want to do.
Well, the opposite of urbanizing is kind of sprawl.
That's the problem, yes.
And that's the problem.
I
So that's what we're trying to sort of,
Yes,
and we're out of upland land in
Yeah.
Scarborough. And so any new development is now taking wetlands and other
yes,
sort of environmental impact. So let's take a place like Oak Hill that can be densified and get the
Mhm.
transit there and get people moving, that mixed use sort of
yes,
feel.
yes.
And use those quote unquote savings to bank green space the rest of the time.
Mhm.
Well, we want development
Mhm.
where we have water and sewer.
Mhm.
So that is the limitation somewhat to density. Other than,
I mean. The things that I see that we have to take into account when doing this are the view shed. I mean, they're just things that we need to take into account if we do it.
Yeah.
And I'm also all for housing,
Yeah.
We will, when we do this for the public, we're gonna have stickers. To say, yes, which has been great, so like I started grouping on things. So you can tell this group is really, like trails showed up in industrial. A little bit there, a little bit there, but more about trails kind of in this part, right? So that's where the some pretty good things came out of it. There's some consistency involved, so that's great. Let's see, we were on community town center, right? So you can do everything there and it can be all what we have, but it's also special. So that's cool, you do height special and unique maybe, or where it doesn't necessarily stand out. Then this next one is neighborhood center, that's that smaller scale. So you've got everybody living, a little bit of working, shopping, playing outside. Serves the neighborhood, town. Character, again, this is kind of special, because this would be really unique in different areas. And then scale.
That's why I put the Maine rural downtown. There's something that's not really a village, not really an issue. We talked about that, it's got a Maine feel to it, but it's not, we haven't had a word that's popped up yet, really fit for it. So that's the specialist of that. And it's not what makes Kennebunk or Freeport pretty. It's what makes the little town centers in Stanford. With the library and the reading. Those smaller centers that maybe don't even have that much, maybe have a shop or two or a gas station, and that's it. But it's a denser area of older housing development that makes it feel like a little bit of a center. It's pretty a center. You don't really have these it's a correct professional word for that's fine.
Well, the closest thing we have here is at Municipal Drive and Ward Street, and Eastern Village sort of ties into it. But it crosses Route 1, so
Yeah.
it's got the whole idea, you know?
I was gonna say, have you been up to Freiburg?
Yes.
Freiburg would be probably the closest.
We've just been there.
Yeah, exactly, it is very young, Freiburg. So, and center level is very stable in Oxford County. Again, you got these old, over the general stores, maybe an hardware store, and a bunch of old houses in a cluster. With green or the old post office or whatever. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, we have that in West Hay, like we have the post, we actually have the post office.
Yeah, actually.
And Village Tavern, and then houses, and
Correct.
there's a few things that I, as a planner, I'd recommend, I need to do some building, there should be a coffee shop.
Well, exactly.
But, cause we all walk, but we would be there.
That area is perfect. It's not, what everybody else is kind of awkward on Route 9.
No, yeah, but that's a little,
Yeah.
that is a neighborhood center,
That's what-
and it's very much a niche.
Yeah.
Design, but I'm really uncomfortable with it being extra large.
I think that they're just partly to be a little bit provocative, but also keeping in mind that within the context of Scarborough. Extra large is like, we're talking 4 or 5 stories, right?
Right,
And
yeah.
I guess I'm sort of pushing a little bit on this idea of not limiting neighborhood to single family.
Sure.
Right.
You can have multifamily, like 4 or 5 stories theoretically, and have it still have neighborhood feel. I mean, the Downs obviously will be sort of a test case of that
Well,
in some ways.
when you go into the Downs, and the first one you see on the left, the uplands,
Yeah.
those are 4 stories, but their designs, it doesn't scream 4-story. They're wide platform, they have.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people are not bothered about how close to, and that's part of it too, is that
Right,
people are used to living in a more kind of suburban environment.
yeah,
Any height, any real density or street presence feels a little bit interesting, but yeah, I mean, that was.
okay,
Which is interesting though, because when we think about those main little village clusters, things like that, most of those houses are 10 feet from
exactly.
from a state road and over 45 different pounds.
Yep.
Yeah. And they were built
Yeah.
because that's how you built a house in 1880.
Yeah.
Well, so that makes me
So it's-
within my scale.
Yeah.
So maybe. Cause I could see your point where maybe, so maybe we should add a different category. I'll have to think about that, cause like extra large being 4+. And most people don't build usually the 5 to 8 story, cause it's a different kind of construction, so you might as well maximize it, right? So you stop at 4,
Threshold. that doesn't-
yeah, you're stick built, then you go into steel and it's just a whole different level.
It's scale, we think a lot about the height, it's also setback. And I think part of the scale question we have is that setback question. How
Yeah.
close am I to the neighbor, or how close am I to the street or sidewalk? And. You know, what works for setbacks in. The town community center may be too close for a neighborhood center. But it may not be close enough, or maybe. We may need to make them further apart in the regional center because of fire concerns and other things for those sorts of things. So I think scale to me is both vertical and horizontal.
So could it be something like people would be more comfortable with this? They're more comfortable with it being close to the street if it's the one, and then it kind of gradually. If you're gonna go 4 stories in the neighborhood center, it should be a little further back, and there should be a meandering sidewalk into the things in the front. And maybe
Yeah.
that makes it more comfortable in that
Yeah.
setting,
Yeah.
but whereas in this setting, 4 stories up close to the street's
Yeah.
cool because the trail is out back on the detention. Okay,
And
I'll figure out how to incorporate, I think that's a really good, way to talk about it.
one of the things I would like to suggest is that where you have mixed use, residential and shopping, things like that, that you consider doing the ground floors of some of the buildings as shops and the upper floors residential. You
That's
can-
what we have.
Yeah.
For our zoning.
Right,
Yeah.
and also that, what was I going to suggest? Oh. Slip my mind. I'll call you all at 3 in the morning.
Alright, so let's see, we were here, so that's good. Then we get into neighborhood residential. So we've got living, learning, and I'm thinking like schools are totally appropriate in this area, libraries, that kind of thing. Serves the neighborhood, perfect, character village, 2 stories, small, large. For those of you that, I know Alan had some thinking about residential stories versus non-residential. A 3-story residential home would be fine, but maybe not a 3-story corner store. I think what is, are you guys just, is it the same sort of situation with the scale and setbacks?
I mean, it's related to that.
And the connections, we've got all the things, monthly sidewalks. And then,
On the neighborhood residential,
Uh-huh.
in the neighborhood center too, are, the bike lanes,
Mhm.
these two make kind of difficult to navigate if we're increasing the density
Mhm.
of the road. Where sidewalks make sense, trails make sense, especially trails that connect to the neighboring, or to the rural areas, around it, so to get out into nature. But that was one question I want to raise for the group, is where do bike lanes fit as we can create a dense downtown?
They might be on the street. Yeah, because when I think of neighborhood residential, I'm thinking of like a dense neighborhood residential, like, you know, like a brownstone.
Mhm.
You know, townhouses kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You might be on the street
Yeah.
as part of traffic. I know if Portia were here, she'd be like, no, we need a bike lane, we need to be safe, so I recognize that not
Yeah.
everybody would
And-
feel that way.
That's the thing, I think I'm with you, Rob, that if we were really serious about the dense nature of what Oak Hill would look like,
Mhm.
you're probably not looking at an explicit bike lane, you're probably looking at, you're sharing traffic.
You're sharing traffic.
Well, I'll tell you, Jimmy Fogg is doing a complete streets and safety. Traffic calming analysis for us right now. And we're in this discussion, and we haven't got to this point to see what the bike lanes, but we've defined our streets. And, you know, cause I'm involved here, defined sort of in this manner. So we're trying to make it all work together, but that's a really good, point to think about, you know, the density and bike lanes and.
In the business, I'm sorry, where is it? The industrial sectors. In terms of learning, one of the things we might encourage is training centers for young people to become certified as welders or
Definitely, yeah,
whatever.
yeah, that'd be a great use there.
Yeah.
Let's see, then we get to suburban residential. And this one is the one nobody usually likes, but this is kind of our reality everywhere. You know, we're like, sprawl, cul-de-sacs, we are the land cul-de-sacs here. I live on one.
People love it when they're living there. And then they don't-
It's funny,
Yeah.
I'm sort of the case study, so. I have one more kid in school, and we live on this cul-de-sac that's a mile from the school, and she can walk home in a pinch if she wants to or whatever. But next year she goes to high school, and high school's on the other side. Oh, I want to be on the other side, so I can walk to things, so I can walk to the shops in town. So it's kind of funny how you want to progress, different stages of your life want different amenities, like the cul-de-sac is perfect for raising your kids on, right? And then you kind of want to have a different, experience sometimes. So we've got all live, we got a little bit of play outside, the work from home. Serves the neighborhood, individual character, suburban, village, neighborhood. What in your minds, when I think of suburban character, I think of just very traditional, you know, pretty.
Boring.
Just your typical subdivision. Like Farms would be probably this, the new one out west, Peaceful Acres, if any of that's like suburban residential.
If I can dig it out, we really have two types of suburban development in Scarborough. One is pre-1980 and one is post-1980.
See, I was thinking the pre-1980 would fit into this step, like the Maple Hill, the Ward Street, or Maple Ave, Ward Street, those smaller, a little more compact.
Where do you put Pleasant Hill?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I.
Pleasant Hill.
Is there a,
Yeah, it's kind of right in.
is there a nuance?
Because from a zoning perspective, Pleasant Hill is more like, Maple Hill. We get a lot of setback issues on it.
Yeah,
Where the houses were designed for a 10-foot setback to the neighbor, and people need to get that variance. Whereas I look at the newer developments, and that's be like my part of Jasper, or Jasper Street that I don't live out there. That's designed now for 30-foot setbacks to the property line. I think the 30-foot setbacks are more of the suburban, even approaching rural, but we don't allow them.
I think we're getting too far into uses, kind of thing.
but when we get into this, this will be really helpful for us.
Yeah.
Because there might be something in between.
Yeah,
It just has to happen.
Well, and if we're trying to densify, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, isn't Pleasant Hill what we want to have be the suburban model?
Probably.
You know what I mean? So, because I see larger developments being rural residential, like you go to West Scarborough, you know, kind of a thing. I don't know, I just, we
Yeah,
have to
I kinda
densify.
Yeah, the way I kind of think about it, sometimes having sort of semi-recently had kids is where is, it's like the trick or treating
Mhm.
index.
Yep.
So like, much better to go trick or treating in Pleasant Hill or neighborhood like Maple Ave than it is in some of these newer neighborhoods with huge lots.
Like the ones off the Chase Road and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oddly, my son gets a much better haul from the Mitchell Hill, road there. But it's different.
See, trick or treat needs to.
Bid
And maybe if there's
prices.
a middle, but that's kind of like. And then we've got rural residential, no trick. Cause you're spread out.
Yeah.
This is probably your minimum lot size is the 2 acre, sort of, what we have now for farm. I'm a big fan of Halloween, so I'm probably gonna work out the corporation. So this one's playing outside, live good, neighborhood, individual. One town, rural, village, rural, small, medium, still large there. Trails, is the word trails, trails show up there, but they really show up here, which is kind of a natural progression. I mean, you could almost design, we could almost design this town really easily, right, with these buckets. I could draw it for you, and then it all makes sense, if only we were able to do that.
In the,
That's weird class stations.
Huh,
There are huge class stations, if you want this.
well, let's talk, like,
Because,
let's
like,
fix that.
I think the large on core residential, if you buy a 2.5 acre lot, you're gonna put down 6,000 square foot on mansion. What you do.
yeah,
So maybe we. So the antithesis of this, that is that we open up the west side of Scarborough. And we double in population. Like, that's the, you know, elephant in the room.
Yeah, it is.
would you encourage clustering in the, third from the left?
Suburban retail.
Suburban residential,
Yeah, would you encourage clustering?
like, yeah. Oh, we do that already, the conservation subdivision, yeah.
Yeah.
But to your point, Peter, I think maybe if these things are done right, these are more elite, these can be the same.
Oh,
This is a lifestyle choice, granted, you're gonna put a big home, but I don't know if there's anything wrong with having lifestyle choices, as long as they're all equally nice and attainable.
no,
And it's not worse, like you don't live in the bad part of town because you're over here.
I totally agree.
You know what I'm saying?
The observation I'm making right now is that we've got, quite a bit of class separation in town.
Yes,
Based on the size of your home and the size of your lot and your setbacks. So the parts of town are the pre-1960 belt, like where I live on a flat in Jasper. You know, it's middle class, still lower middle class. When
See,
you-
I don't feel that here.
Yeah.
The way, I don't feel that the way I felt it where I came from, because, like, you're so. close to the-
Well, no, well, exactly, Scarborough is a paradise, anyway, like, the socioeconomic class of the flat part of Jasper Street
Yeah,
is distinctly different than what I call the Connecticut Heights. And there's about a quarter mile of separation between the two, and there's a very distinct difference. And that extends out to the other parts of Blue Point that were developed in the 80s and 90s and beyond. Gotcha. Whereas parts on Ocean View Road, right across from me, on Ross Road, on the older parts, where they're pre zoning, the lot that when typically a farmer would divide up his land and drop cookie cutter little houses there. Those are just attractive, different, and they're cheaper. They don't have the same backyards, they're close to the street, and so there's a different class. And maybe I'm super sensitive to this because I grew up here.
maybe, because I think it's from a person getting here, one of the things that I thought and really appreciated about Maine as a whole, is you might drive down the street and see a 6,000 square foot house, you might see a mobile home, you might see a really small cottage, and they all seem to function together, like I haven't found that, because they have sort of organically, and we don't have these big developments, we don't have this big suburban sprawl that the state is saying we need with 5,000. We don't have Hutto, Texas, so look it up, you can watch the progression from Google Earth for the last 15 years of what that looks like. So I guess I don't see that as much, but from experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
may I suggest for both the rural suburban and the third one, things like local neighborhood parks and playgrounds and maybe some community facilities.
sure, yeah, that's all about that play. So next
Okay.
time, we're gonna get into the uses, we're gonna,
Okay,
let me wrap this up and I'll tell you, so the last one we have is rural farm conservation. And this one, sort of looks like no living, sort of looks like resource protection plus maybe. Maybe with some specialty, cause we've got some work, we've got some live, play outside, green, wildlife, low impact, live, learn, farm store.
Yeah.
But it's very much a preserved sort of area, maybe with a pumpkin patch kind of thing.
I think back to when you first joined, a lot of what I felt you added to it was a reminder that farming was and still is for the parts of the community, a real important part of the fabric. To me, this one on the rural farm is really, yes, conserved land, but it's also that area that we say we want to have farms.
Absolutely, and that's why I put XL under the size,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
most barns are 4 stories high.
So I think the agricultural component of this is pretty.
Or silos, you name it, you gotta have height. Or a water tower, you gotta have height.
So this has been great, and you guys did a really great job. And I'm proud of Helen and I, because we've been trying to figure out how to make this like work.
You guys did a great, this is a great exercise, and I'm
Yes.
glad that you used this group as a guinea pig before you take it to.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I love Corey's sort of like litmus test of, are you gonna trick or treat in this neighborhood or not? Cause I think it will really help the public understand
Yeah.
sort of what's happening there.
I think another thing that would be helpful for context setting going forward. You've heard a lot of this on the hearings that we've had is kind of a reset. On how much buildable land is left, how much is already either in conservation or just not buildable. Because there is kind of this perception, I think sometimes among some people that we're just paving over every last square inch of the town, even as we do have an open space plan, we have 30 by 30 initiative. We have the land bond that's already resulted in 2 or 3 new acquisitions. And I think it also just, gives a little bit more context for what we have. What has the town already done, what's already kind of off limits, and what's left.
Yeah, I think, if you have them, then maybe I'll give you a little preview of our growth. So the next time, what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill out uses. So I'll summarize all this, and we'll put the findings, here the word Helen created, it actually looks like this, but we can move the stickies around, and so I'll give you sort of a summary of the visual, so you can see what the results look like. But then we're gonna talk about uses, so all of these categories, the top, the purpose. We're gonna start to talk about what does play mean? And then did we really want play? Did we want 2 different kinds of play? Do we mean what we said? So, and that'll get a little bit more in-depth conversation with.
Having lived in a Levitt development, 30-acre lots, lovely homes, there was no community feel. And there was also no way to get to shopping except to drive. And so in terms of even suburban rural, I would love to see and regular suburban. I think the little neighborhood centers, but I think we might include in rural something with a few general stores, something that and things that will make people feel that they live in a community, even if they're in rural areas.
Sure.
We got a few minutes left. Anything else on Helen or on?
Let's see, we're wrapping up our vulnerability assessment. We met with Higgins Beach last week. We met with Pine Point this week. And that is online as a story map. And I don't know if any of you were near the beach, but it's really interesting to see the scenarios and the impacts of sea level rise and flooding. That's on our website, so check it out. Let's see, we also have, like I said, the complete streets And street calming, we're going to have a public meeting, I believe it's October 23rd. The transportation committee will be involved with that and everybody will be welcome, but they'll come through and start talking about street sections and design and just get some input.
On the beachfront, how, I'm not sure what word I would want to use on, how realistic are people about development?
Really very realistic, actually. The residents have been very, they acknowledge that there hasn't been a lot of, you are silly. There hasn't been any of that. It's been a very good, real constant.
People are
They've been waiting for this discussion, yeah.
bringing a bigger, thing
Yeah.
about climate change. that
Yeah.
us in the town is virtually no control over.
Right.
But they definitely. Yeah,
Oh,
Are
okay,
people,
I'm sorry.
are people expecting like, we're gonna build a seawall, we're gonna build like
No,
the
well,
Corps
so-
of Engineers to come in there?
Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, those questions that come up, like no new seawalls can be built.
Yeah.
Those realities have been discussed. The vulnerability assessment has some recommendations. We have our top 30 streets that are gonna be inundated at certain periods. And so there's a lot of council decisions, I think, that need to be made on how we prioritize those. And then first and foremost, I think that we have to pick what scenario we're going to design to. Is it 2050? Is it 2060? Is it 2100? What do we think we can feasibly, 2050 is only 25 years.
Yeah,
So to elevate Pine Point Road in 25 years, we need to get on it.
Yeah.
Those kind of conversations.
I'd say it seems like there's and I wasn't at the Higgins meetings, but it feels like there's a pretty good acknowledgement of the fact that the town can't tackle this stuff on its
Right.
own.
right.
Yeah.
It's gonna require state and federal funding.
Huh.
The bigger, the larger.
The
scale.
larger scale, yeah.
Well,
Karen, anything?
Okay.
Lori, council?
Well, we're gonna have a couple of housing and growth related workshops coming up between now and November. During the month, primarily in October. There'll be more on that.
Okay,
April, are we looking at allowing the marshes to retreat where that's possible?
Yeah, that's all part of conversations, yeah.
Rick?
The only thing is there's some discussion, if it's public here, it's not healthcare law, about possibly doing an updated growth and services committee report from that.
Well,
What's that for those of us who don't know what that is?
What's that?
What is a growth and services?
There was a report, there was a committee formed by the council in 2006. I chaired it along with Charlie Anderson. And its primary focus was to get a better handle on growth in the town at that time. And the impact on services provided by the town,
Got it.
including, primarily fire, police and school. And there's be some discussion coming from some members of the planning. That we ought to dust that off, and eventually consider updating it in light of the sentiment there among a lot of people that there's too much growth in town. That was essentially the same sentiment.
There's too much what?
Growth.
yeah, that's part of the conversation that I think council will start to have in October. And then there's some other recommendations. So the first one, I believe, right now is October 15th. And then the next meeting, there'll be like a 2 or 3 part series of workshops. And then the next one, I think, they want to wait until the new council is sworn in. And then ultimately, hopefully it will go into the goal setting.
Growth and service report, I don't think is now available on the town's website.
I don't,
It's at the
But I have
Yeah.
a copy,
yeah, it's at the library,
couple hundred pages.
yeah. I mean, that was the first report that I think crystallized for people, that a single family home at that time certainly did not generate enough taxes to pay for
That's
What
right.
it
a
requires.
student.
That's one of the key findings.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the cost of a single family home that generates enough taxes to support a student, it's just way over anybody's ability to afford.
I think the difference now is that, you know, there's a lot fewer students, there's fewer students per household, so a single household, a single family home generates about a third of a student, not a full student. So,
All right, just trying to get through this, Peter. Rachel?
Yeah, one of the things that this reminded me of is what we're seeing on the planning board is subdivisions of lots. In other words, we've got one now on Sawyer Road, the lot already has a house on it. And a garage, and the garage is going to be torn down and is gonna be 4 lots. Small ones, so that's a combination of infill, and a way that, a place like Oak Hill can start to grow. That still has space for growth. So I think we need to take into consideration what we already have. So that, is there space, a lot more space for the infill?
Yeah.
And I know that's part of the comp plan, and we're seeing it.
What is that parcel zoned for on Sawyer Road?
It's
Yeah,
a
remember?
village residential, it's zoned for 5,000 square feet,
But what size lots?
5,000. I think it's 5, right?
Also, and maybe just that, just be back to the setback issue. I think a lot of our conversations about these residential zones are gonna either succeed or fail on how we deal with the setback issues. More so than height or that. And I mean, selfishly on the zoning board, that's all practically all we get with. But again, there's some real subtleties between what a 5, 10, 15, and 20-foot side setback and rear setback are. And some real design issues about what a 10, 15, 30, or 50-foot front setback issue will entail. So as people drive around, there's a lot of variety in the setbacks in our town. So it's fun on a Sunday afternoon, or a Tuesday midday when nobody's around, to drive around and see all the variance in setbacks and to get pictures in your own minds about how lot sizes can vary and could be varied as we look at changing rules for areas.
Well, for example, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, fine. All right, thank you, Corey.
So in that Sawyer Road area, there are marshes and there are some farms.
At this point, if I could, just because of time, is there
It's fine.
any other comments that you wanted to make personally to the board or? And I'm okay as well. So I would definitely entertain a motion. And do I have a second? Rick, thank you. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm not sure of the date of our next meeting. I didn't look it up.
October 8th.